Something strange is happening across the UK. It's not one single event. It's not one dramatic headline. It's a quiet, creeping shift, almost invisible if you're not looking closely. But if you step back, the pattern is unmistakable. Hospitals are overwhelmed. Young people are anxious and broken. The middle class is shrinking. Schools, trains, energy bills, politics, housing. Everything feels like it's straining at the seams. This isn't just another cycle of bad news. It feels different, heavier, like the foundations are cracking beneath us, while everyone keeps walking, hoping they won't fall through. The numbers tell part of the story. Millions relying on food banks, record mental health issues, historic lows in public trust. But numbers can't explain the feeling in the air, the sense that something big is coming and no one is ready. What happens when a country stops functioning as a system, when crisis becomes normal, and when the most basic expectations, safety, stability, a future, start to vanish? This isn't about left or right. It's about a society at a breaking point. And when you look at the signs together, the picture is hard to ignore. This video isn't here to exaggerate, it's here to show you what's unfolding, piece by piece, pressure by pressure, across the entire UK, because what's coming isn't somewhere in the future, it's already started. Number 1. The cost of living crisis is out of control. Right now, millions of UK households are battling a storm they never signed up for. The cost of living crisis. From soaring supermarket prices to unaffordable energy bills, life is becoming unbearably expensive. It's not just a media headline, it's a daily reality for people up and down the country. Since 2021, inflation has battered essentials like bread, milk, and meat, pushing the average family to make heartbreaking choices. Do we heat the house or buy dinner? The Office for National Statistics reports that food prices have jumped by more than 25% in just 2 years, with some staples like eggs and pasta seeing even sharper spikes. But it doesn't stop at groceries. Energy bills have exploded, with households paying hundreds more per year, despite government intervention. Families are rationing hot water, using blankets instead of heaters, and cutting out basic comforts just to survive the month. This winter, fuel poverty became a harsh reality for more than 6.5 million UK homes. And the crisis is especially devastating for low-income workers and single parents. Many are working multiple jobs just to afford a lifestyle that only a decade ago would be considered modest. Food banks are overwhelmed, reporting record levels of demand. The Trussell Trust delivered over 3 million food parcels in the last year alone. This isn't about budgeting better, it's about a broken system. Wages aren't keeping up, benefits are being slashed, and economic inequality is widening every day. So the question isn't, can people manage? It's, how long until they can't? The cost of living isn't just rising, it's crushing, and for many in the UK, it's becoming impossible to breathe under the weight. Number 2. NHS collapse is no longer a future threat. It's happening. For decades, the NHS was seen as a jewel of British society, a healthcare system free at the point of need, built on the principles of equality and compassion. But today, that jewel is cracking under pressure, and what was once a national pride is now on the verge of systemic collapse. Across the UK, emergency rooms are overwhelmed. Patients are waiting 10, 12, even 14 hours just to be seen. Ambulances sit idle outside hospitals, unable to offload patients due to bed shortages. In some tragic cases, people have died waiting for care that came too late. This isn't just poor service, it's a public health disaster. The crisis is largely fueled by chronic understaffing. The NHS is short over 120,000 workers, including tens of thousands of nurses and doctors. Burnout is rampant. Medical professionals are leaving the field in record numbers due to exhaustion, low pay, and the emotional toll of trying to hold up a crumbling system. Backlogs for surgery and diagnostics are another silent emergency. Over 7.5 million people are currently on waiting lists, some for procedures that could prevent long-term disability or death. Imagine living in constant pain, knowing help is months or even years away. And the government's response? Often it's a band-aid on a bullet wound, short-term funding, vague reform promises, and political finger-pointing. Meanwhile, the core issues, funding shortages, workforce depletion, and aging infrastructure remain unaddressed. When your country's healthcare system begins to fail, everything else follows. Without a functioning NHS, public trust erodes, economic productivity declines, and vulnerable lives are left behind. This isn't a distant fear. The collapse is already happening in waiting rooms, in hospital corridors, and behind the weary eyes of every overworked nurse and doctor. Number 3. The housing market is a time bomb. In the UK today, housing has stopped being a basic right and become a dangerous game of survival. For millions, the dream of home ownership has turned into a financial nightmare, and the pressure is building toward collapse. Let's start with home ownership. For the average young adult, buying a house is now completely out of reach. According to the Halifax House Price Index, the average UK house now costs over 9 times the average salary. Even those with stable jobs are priced out, as deposit requirements skyrocket and mortgage rates soar. And if you think renting is the safer option, think again. Rent inflation has hit record highs, especially in major cities like London, Manchester, and Bristol. Families are being pushed out of their communities, forced to move further away from work and support networks just to afford a roof over their heads. Meanwhile, landlords are selling off properties, driven by rising interest rates and new regulations. That's reducing the already limited supply of rentals and driving up costs even more. Social housing is no longer the safety net it once was. Waiting lists stretch for years, and many councils are turning people away entirely. At the same time, homelessness is on the rise. Shelters are full. People are sleeping in cars, staying with strangers, or facing the streets. The charity shelter reports that over 280,000 people in the UK are either homeless or in temporary accommodation, a figure that's only climbing. This is more than a crisis. It's a ticking time bomb. When people can't find stable housing, entire communities unravel. Mental health declines, children suffer, economic productivity drops, and social unrest begins to brew. The UK's housing system isn't bending anymore. It's breaking, and no one's reaching for the repair kit. Number 4. Political trust is at historic lows. The UK is experiencing a crisis of confidence, and at the heart of it lies a sharp and dangerous drop in political trust. For decades, politics was messy, but now it's corrosive. People no longer feel represented. They feel betrayed. Following Brexit, many believed the UK would take back control. Instead, we've seen 5 prime ministers in just over 7 years, each leaving behind more chaos than the last. From broken promises to Partygate scandals, the public perception is clear. Politicians serve themselves, not the people. Polling from YouGov and Ipsos consistently shows that trust in politicians is at an all-time low. In fact, fewer than 15% of Britons believe elected officials are doing what's best for the country. Many see Parliament not as a centre of governance, but as a stage for elite theatre and corporate lobbying. This distrust extends beyond Westminster. Local councils are collapsing under financial pressure. Public consultations feel like tick-box exercises, and policies are often reversed overnight without public input. People feel they've lost all control over their lives, and they're angry. The result? Voter apathy is rising. Turnout in local elections has plummeted. Young people in particular feel so disillusioned that they're checking out entirely. Democracy doesn't work when no one believes in it. And when people stop trusting democratic systems, they look elsewhere. Some turn to conspiracy theories, others to extremist voices, offering simple answers to complex problems. That's how polarization spreads, fast and unchecked. Trust is like oxygen in a society. Without it, nothing functions properly. Laws lose legitimacy, protests turn to riots, dialogue becomes division. And once that trust is broken, it's incredibly hard to rebuild. In the UK today, that trust is not just low, it's on life support. Number 5. Youth mental health crisis. A silent emergency is unfolding across the UK. A youth mental health crisis that's intensifying with every passing day. From classrooms to bedrooms, millions of young people are battling anxiety, depression, and emotional isolation, often in silence and without help. Recent data from NHS Digital shows that 1 in 5 children and young people now have a probable mental health disorder. That's a staggering number. And it's not just statistics, it's real lives. Teenagers who can't get out of bed, university students drowning in pressure, children developing panic disorders before they even turn 12. Why is this happening? The reasons are many. Social media is a major contributor, flooding young minds with unrealistic standards, cyberbullying, and a constant stream of negative news. The pressure to be perfect online is taking a devastating toll offline. Add to that the cost of living crisis, family instability, and academic pressure, and you have a generation growing up in a world that feels uncertain and unforgiving. Many young people say they feel hopeless about the future, unsure if they'll ever have stable jobs, affordable housing, or even a livable planet. What makes it worse? The system that's supposed to help is overwhelmed. CAMS, Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services, is so stretched that some kids are waiting over a year just to get an assessment. Others are turned away entirely because they're not sick enough. Parents are struggling, teachers are burning out, and young people are suffering in silence. The result? Suicide rates among under 25s have reached their highest levels in years. This isn't just a mental health issue. It's a national emergency that threatens the well-being and future of an entire generation. If we don't act now, we risk losing the hope, creativity, and energy that these young people bring to our society. Number 6. A fragmenting union. Scottish and Northern Irish tensions. The United Kingdom isn't as united as it once was. Beneath the surface, deep political and cultural fractures are threatening to tear the union apart, and the consequences could reshape the UK forever. In Scotland, the push for independence has only intensified since Brexit. In the 2016 referendum, 62% of Scots voted to remain in the European Union, yet they were pulled out against their will. That decision reignited calls for a second independence referendum, with the Scottish National Party, SNP, leading the charge. For many Scots, the UK government no longer reflects their values, identity, or interests. Meanwhile, Northern Ireland faces a different but equally serious identity crisis. The implementation of the Northern Ireland Protocol, designed to prevent a hard border with the Republic of Ireland, has created a de facto border in the Irish Sea. This has angered many unionists, who see it as a threat to their British identity. At the same time, nationalists are increasingly calling for a united Ireland. These tensions are not theoretical. They're visible in elections, protests, and everyday conversations. Stormont, Northern Ireland's devolved government, has been suspended multiple times due to political deadlock. Trust in Westminster is crumbling, and both Scotland and Northern Ireland are questioning their place in the UK. Even Wales, often quieter in these discussions, has seen rising support for greater autonomy or full independence. The very idea of the United Kingdom as a cohesive political entity is being challenged like never before. If these issues continue to escalate, the UK could face a future where its historic union dissolves, one piece at a time. This isn't just political noise. It's a slow-motion breakup of a centuries-old alliance, and nobody seems truly prepared for what happens next. Number 7. Declining global influence. Once hailed as a global superpower, the United Kingdom now finds itself struggling to maintain relevance on the world stage. Decades of diplomatic strength, military reach, and cultural dominance are slowly fading, replaced by a narrative of decline that even allies are beginning to notice. Much of this shift can be traced back to Brexit. Leaving the European Union didn't just sever trade ties, it weakened the UK's ability to influence European policy, stripped it of strategic alliances, and made its diplomatic voice quieter in major international forums. Where the UK once helped shape EU decisions, it now waits outside the door, hoping to be heard. Even the UK's special relationship with the United States has lost its sparkle. American administrations, under both parties, are now prioritising larger alliances, such as the EU or Indo-Pacific coalitions, leaving the UK playing a smaller, often symbolic role. Britain's global clout is no longer taken for granted. It's being recalculated in real time. On the military front, while the UK still possesses a strong defence infrastructure, budget constraints and recruitment shortages are undermining its long-term capabilities. The armed forces are stretched thin, and questions are being raised about whether Britain can maintain its commitments to NATO and beyond. Even soft power, once the UK's ace card through institutions like the BBC, British universities, and the arts, is in decline. Budget cuts, censorship concerns, and rising competition from other nations have diminished the UK's cultural impact abroad. In global diplomacy, influence is everything. And right now, Britain's is shrinking fast. It's no longer enough to point to history, language, or past empires. In today's world, power is earned daily. Unless bold steps are taken, the UK risks becoming a spectator in the very world it once helped to shape. Number 8. Widening Wealth Gap. The UK is becoming a nation of haves and have-nots, and the divide is growing wider by the day. While billionaires add millions to their fortunes, millions of working families are struggling just to stay afloat. This isn't just inequality, it's economic separation, and it's reshaping the very fabric of society. Let's look at the facts. According to the Office for National Statistics, the top 1% of earners now hold more wealth than the entire bottom 50% combined. CEOs are earning over 100 times more than the average worker. Meanwhile, real wages, adjusted for inflation, have barely moved in over a decade. In everyday terms, this means one family eats organic produce and holidays abroad, while another relies on food banks and skips meals. And this isn't just about income, it's about opportunity. Access to good education, healthcare, and even clean air is now deeply influenced by postcode and class. The north-south divide is also sharper than ever. While London and parts of the southeast continue to see investment and growth, many towns in the Midlands, North and Wales are left behind. These communities face job losses, underfunded schools, and a lack of public transport, trapping people in cycles of poverty and stagnation. And let's not forget the rise of the gig economy, 0-hour contracts, low job security, and minimal benefits. These jobs offer just enough to survive, but not enough to thrive. They represent the new working poor, people who work full-time yet still can't pay rent or build savings. This isn't sustainable. A society built on vast inequality can't remain stable for long. When too many are excluded from prosperity, the social contract begins to erode. The UK isn't just facing a wealth gap, it's facing a wealth chasm, and the longer it's ignored, the deeper it becomes. Number 9. Aging infrastructure and public services. Across the UK, the signs are everywhere. Pothole-ridden roads, overcrowded trains, and crumbling schools. The country's infrastructure and public services are aging fast, and without major reinvestment, they're heading toward functional failure. Let's start with transport. The UK's rail network, once a symbol of efficiency, now faces constant delays, cancellations, and outdated rolling stock. Commuters pay some of the highest fares in Europe, yet endure one of the least reliable services. Many rural communities have been cut off entirely, as bus routes vanish and train stations close. Roads aren't faring any better. Across the country, potholes are causing accidents, damaging vehicles, and making journeys more dangerous. Local councils report a backlog of billions in repair costs, but lack the funding to keep up. The UK's roads, bridges, and tunnels are literally falling apart beneath us. Then there's education. Over 1/3 of UK school buildings are rated as needing urgent repair. Some still contain asbestos. Others struggle with leaky roofs, broken heating, and outdated tech infrastructure. Students are expected to prepare for the future while learning in conditions stuck in the past. Public libraries, youth centres, and even leisure facilities, once the heartbeat of local communities, are disappearing due to years of austerity and cuts. What was once a web of support services has become a patchwork of underfunded, overstretched remnants. Even digital infrastructure is lagging. While the world moves towards smart cities and 5G, many parts of the UK still struggle with basic broadband access. Public services and infrastructure are the scaffolding of modern life. When they decay, everything suffers. Productivity drops, morale collapses, and inequality deepens. Britain isn't just old, it's breaking down, one delayed train, leaking pipe, and closed library at a time. Number 10. Climate change disasters are now local. For years, climate change felt like a distant threat, something happening in the Arctic or in island nations far away. But now, the consequences are showing up right here at home in the UK, and the shift is happening faster than expected. In just the past few years, the UK has experienced a wave of climate-related disasters. Severe flooding has devastated towns from Yorkshire to the Somerset levels, destroying homes and livelihoods. rivers are bursting their banks more frequently, and insurance premiums are soaring for people living in high-risk areas. Then come the heat waves. In 2022, the UK recorded temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius for the first time in history. Railways buckled, roads melted, schools and hospitals struggled to stay open. And this wasn't a one-off. Experts say such extreme heat is becoming the new normal. We're also seeing coastal erosion accelerate at a dangerous pace. Entire cliffsides are crumbling, swallowing homes along the east coast. Families are watching their properties slide into the sea with little warning and even less support. But perhaps the most alarming part? The UK is woefully unprepared. Flood defences are outdated, urban drainage systems are overwhelmed, and building codes still don't reflect the climate realities of today. While other nations invest in climate adaptation, the UK is falling behind. Add to that the slow progress toward renewable energy goals, and you get a dangerous mix. A country experiencing more frequent climate disasters, with too little infrastructure in place to respond effectively. Climate change is no longer a future issue, it's a present crisis, and it's affecting every region, every season, and every citizen. The signs are no longer hidden, they're everywhere. From collapsing hospitals to youth mental health spirals, from vanishing trust to eroding coastlines, the UK isn't heading toward a single disaster. It's facing a chain of crises, each one amplifying the next. And yet many continue with life as usual, hoping that somehow things will fix themselves. But history shows that societies don't crumble all at once. They fracture slowly until the break becomes impossible to ignore. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Because awareness sparks change. It fuels conversation, pushes policy, and breaks the illusion that everything is fine. The more people who understand what's really happening, the more chance we have to rewrite the story before it's too late. We're not powerless. We still have a choice to pay attention, to speak up, and to act. So now that you've seen the bigger picture, what do you think is the biggest threat facing the UK right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. We pour hours into researching and creating content that really matters. So if this video made you think, please subscribe. It's just one click, but it means the world to us and keeps this channel growing. Let's explore the truth together.